Bonjour, garden lovers! Welcome back to Time for Gardening, your cozy destination for dreamy garden ideas that fit even the tiniest spaces. In today's video, we're exploring a touch of French romance through elegant raised bed ideas for small garden spaces. Whether you're working with a petite courtyard, a side yard, or even a slim city balcony, we'll show you how to layer charm, functionality, and floral beauty into every square foot. French garden style blends rustic textures, delicate flowers, and timeless details, and we're bringing that aesthetic into a raised bed format you can DIY. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and drop a comment if you're inspired by today's ideas. We'd love to hear about your favorite French flowers or romantic garden moments. Now, let's turn your compact garden into a Parisian floral escape. Small doesn't mean limiting. It means intimate and enchanting when it comes to French garden beds. The goal is to evoke that timeless countryside charm. Think lavender-lined paths, wrought iron accents, and natural materials like aged stone or terracotta. When designing for a tiny space, raised beds add structure while creating room for a layered look. Arrange narrow raised planters in symmetrical layouts or along curved borders to enhance a feeling of formality with softness. Use climbing roses or espaliered fruit trees against a wall to elevate your space vertically, just like the tucked-away gardens of French towns. These touches don't just add beauty, they also help maximize function in tight quarters. You'll soon feel like you're stepping into a vintage postcard of Provence. In a French-inspired garden, material choice is key to capturing that aged romantic charm. Opt for reclaimed wood, painted wrought iron, or weathered stone to form your raised beds. These materials age gracefully and echo the relaxed elegance of French countryside gardens. Terracotta edging, woven willow borders, or even upcycled wooden crates can also serve beautifully in smaller layouts. The goal is to create a patina that whispers history and character, even if your beds are brand new. Mix textures mindfully. Pair smooth gravel pathways with wooden beds or pair vintage-style containers with brushed metal trellises. Even in the tiniest space, these subtle touches speak volumes. Your garden will feel like a story unfolding with every bloom. Small gardens thrive on vertical interest, and raised beds give you the perfect base to go upward in style. Incorporate trellises and obelisks to grow romantic climbers like sweet peas, clematis, or heirloom roses. Frame taller plants toward the back of beds and trail smaller, flowering herbs like thyme and chamomile toward the front. This creates the soft layering effect so typical of French floral design. Don't forget fragrant blooms like lavender and heliotrope. They fill the air with sweetness and beckon butterflies and bees. A mix of ornamental edibles like rainbow chard and purple basil adds beauty and function to your layout. Let nature spill and climb gracefully. It's all about effortless elegance. The classic French garden palette revolves around soft, romantic hues. Think dusty pinks, deep purples, creamy whites, and sage greens. Plant foxgloves alongside silvery lambs, ear or Nestle soft pink cosmos beside bold purple salvia. Incorporate pale blue forget-me-nots, classic boxwood edging, and soft blush peonies for a truly romantic combination. In small spaces, keep a limited color scheme to create visual unity. Repetition of colors and forms makes your garden feel curated, rather than cluttered. Accent your raised beds with rustic ceramic pots or small vintage watering cans to complete the look. It's about inviting peace and poetic charm into your outdoor nook. A raised French herb bed or potager is both practical and charming in a small garden. Start with essentials like lavender, rosemary, thyme, sage, and tarragon, herbs that look beautiful and are easy to harvest. Mix in flowering herbs like chives and calendula to add visual delight and attract pollinators. A raised format not only defines the space but improves drainage and makes harvesting easy. Use gravel pathways or stepping stones between narrow beds to keep the layout organized and elegant. You can even tuck in edible flowers like nasturtiums or violas for that signature blend of beauty and function. This miniature potager becomes a fragrant focal point and a culinary treasure. Pathways and borders are the secret to creating a romantic garden layout that feels structured yet soft. Define your raised beds with crushed granite or pale gravel paths, creating contrast and accessibility. Use low hedging like trimmed lavender or dwarf boxwood to outline garden beds and give them a refined shape. In tiny gardens, even a single curved path can make the space feel larger and more dynamic. Edging materials like brick or vintage tile enhance the old-world French feel. Try planting thyme or creeping chamomile between stepping stones for a lush, living carpet. The arrangement of beds and paths should invite quiet exploration, like a secret garden waiting to be discovered. Containers and garden accents play a big role in amplifying the French mood of your raised beds. Incorporate vintage finds like weathered urns, enamelware buckets, or ornate wall fountains. Group terracotta pots with trailing vines or clusters of violas for a charming vignette. Intersperse iron garden lanterns or small statues to add whimsy and personality. Raised beds can be bordered with decorative fencing or antique frames to further define the space. These finishing touches turn a functional setup into a delightful experience. Even a small bistro table with chairs nestled beside your beds adds an irresistibly French ambience. It's not just gardening, it's lifestyle. A romantic garden bed isn't limited to spring. To keep your French-inspired raised beds flourishing year-round, layer in perennials and seasonal rotations. Start with structural plants like lavender and dwarf evergreens that provide winter form. In spring, layer in tulips, primroses, and violas. Come summer, let roses, cosmos, and zinnias take the spotlight. Autumn calls for mums, kale, and ornamental grasses in rustic shades. Use dried lavender or seed pods for winter texture, keeping the romance alive even in colder months. With just a bit of seasonal planning, your garden becomes a timeless delight through every change. There's nothing more satisfying than creating beauty with reclaimed materials. Use upcycled wood, vintage drawers, or even cast iron headboards to build French-style raised beds. These pieces add instant character and nod to the rustic elegance of countryside gardens. Paint distressed finishes in soft pastels or classic white for a worn-in look. Combine mismatched elements into a cohesive design using consistent plant palettes or borders. This approach is budget-friendly and environmentally conscious, ideal for sustainable garden design. Embrace imperfections, they add soul. Your raised beds will look like they've been growing there for decades. The charm of a French romantic garden doesn't end at sundown. Illuminate your raised beds with soft solar lights, string fairy lights along trellises, or place vintage lanterns near pathways. Warm lighting reflects off natural textures and highlights the form of flowers and foliage. Even one well-placed lantern or candle holder can turn a raised bed corner into a dreamy twilight escape. Consider placing mirrors or reflective surfaces on nearby walls to amplify evening glow in tight spots. The ambience will make your garden feel like an open-air cafe or a stroll through a Parisian courtyard. Evening gardening has never felt more magical. Merci for joining us today on this enchanting journey through French-inspired raised beds. Whether you're starting small or refining your garden design, these ideas bring timeless beauty into any outdoor nook. We hope you found inspiration in every flower, texture, and vintage accent shared today. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to Time for Gardening, and share your favorite idea in the comments below. Let us know what you'd love to see next. Perhaps a garden tour or DIY build guide. Your support helps our gardening community grow, one romantic raised bed at a time. Until next time, keep blooming and dreaming.